Last week, I tried new skincare, and I don't know if you can see on camera, but it did not like me. It has been a fight for the ages with my skin. So this week, we're going to be complexion focused because I need to do the things required to lie. Can never let the men know that this is actually a result of makeup or they're going to tell the church. Hello everyone, it's Kendall here. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're not new around here, what is up, home skillet biscuit? Happy Saturday. If you don't know what Saturday is, it's when I do a little something on my channel called Bad Movies and a Beat. The series on my channel where I talk about bad movies while putting my makeup on. And this week, this one made me incredibly upset. This one made me very mad because it's a movie. It's my least favorite type of movie. And I don't think I've ever really talked about this particular genre of film. Ones that are trying to gaslight you into thinking what you saw wasn't what you saw. And I am here with Coke Zero and a chip on my shoulder to bitch about it. A movie that most of y'all probably haven't watched, but I'm probably gonna get you to watch it now because it's free on Tubi. Because everything that's great that I've ever made comes from that hellscape. But before we get into my incredibly long rant that I'm about to go on about this film that no one's heard of like I do every week, we gotta send it over to Admiral Kenny to secure us a bag. Thank you very much. Hello everyone, it's Admiral Kenny, and today's video is sponsored by Care Of. Care Of is a subscription service that sends you high quality vitamins, supplements, and powders to your doorstep every month. You pick a personalized quiz that lets you know the products that might be best for you, and then they ship them out in this very convenient individualized pouches with your name on it, by the way. It says for Kendall or Hi Kendall. That's me. With the vitamins and supplements picked out just for you. The supplements are made with thoughtfully sourced and researched backed ingredients that come in this incredibly convenient pouch that is compostable, by the way. It also has cute little challenges on it. It says go for a walk today and leave your phone at home. Ah, unplugging. Thank you for the suggestion. I won't be taking it. I'm afraid of serial killers. But thank you for thinking of me. My particular supplement pack has multivitamins to cover nutrient gaps, iron, which is really important for energy that time of the month, fish oil for heart and brain health, rhodiola for stress and mood. I take all of mine at once because I'm a thug. We should probably take them like one at a time though. Then I got their vanilla whey protein because I like to have vanilla protein on deck at all times. I love baking with it in particular. Make banana muffins, make pancakes. It's good to have, and it tastes delicious and now has more protein in it. So it's actually filling if you make a brownie or something and put vanilla protein in it. So if you would like to try Care Of, you can click on the link down below and use my code KennieJD50 to get 50% off your first purchase. Big thanks again to Care Of for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get on to the debauchery. Last week, we talked about a film that my manager, Cole, recommended to me. For those of you asking if he's okay, I think he's fine. And for those of you asking if he has a breastfeeding kink, I felt like it was inappropriate to ask, so I don't know. Though I consider us friendly, I think that's a bit too invasive for me to ask. So, But the reason why people were curious is because we watched Infinity Pool with Mia Goth and Alexander Skarsgård. A few of you guys actually watched the film afterwards and told me about it. You're welcome. I say that facetiously because you're all dead inside, and that's okay. I love that I'm spreading the joy. If you would like to check out my video before you take a dive into the deep end, that'll be linked up above, or you can check, oh, deep end! Look at me, Infinity Pool, that wasn't even planned. You could check it out up above, or you could check it out in the Bad Movies and a Beat playlist. Okay, so this week, oh my God. This week was not planned, and I wish I would have gone with the original plan. For the last few months, since I saw the trailer for it around maybe Thanksgiving or so, I've been waiting on pins and needles to see that incredibly chaotic looking Filipino movie.
I can't believe that my own father is having an affair with my boyfriend.
I've yet to find that movie with English subtitles, so hopefully by the time we're talking about horrible movies in June, it'll be perfect for the Lugabata month. Happy Pride. But in the meantime, somebody on Twitter was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of that one movie where the woman is dying of cancer and she wants her husband to start dating her brother when she dies. Here we are. Another episode of Bad Movies in a Beat, baby. It's on Tubi, of course. I watched it soon after I saw that tweet. Today we are talking about Say Yes, a romantic drama of sorts. Came out in like 2019-ish. And being that we're here talking about it on Bad Movies in a Beat, it would show that the movie wasn't able to do the impossible and somehow was able to bring together an actually good movie based off of such a premise, you know? I like to stay open-minded. Maybe they could have made something compelling. I don't know. They didn't. So they made this shit. So I expected it to be bad. What I did not expect, however, is for this movie to try to actively gaslight me the entire film. It was actually some of the most infuriating shit. The movie's bad. No shocker, honestly. The acting is atrocious, very like after school special type beat with a weirdly unsympathetic, not like the other girl's character that despite having terminal cancer is written in such a way that I simply could not care less that she's dying. Quite the opposite even. I wanted the bitch to go. She's just this weird, not like the other girls, manic pixie dream girl type thing that's just literally there to propel an otherwise non-existent gay love story into fruition. And then the whole movie is like trying to gaslight you into thinking you're not seeing what's happening on screen. And it's so infuriating. And there's multiple ways in which the movie tries to gaslight us throughout the events of the story. This movie, a visual representation of media, wants me to see this woman and this man, this woman, and this man are related in any way closely, but are in fact twin by blood siblings. Granted, genetics are crazy and weirder things have happened, sure, but it's just very highly unlikely that man is a whole ass Filipino. That is a Southeast Asian man. And beyond that, the entire story, I'm getting so heated. The entire main story of this movie is this incredibly long campaign to make me not comprehend reality. That the premise of, wow, my cancer-ridden wife wants me to now start fucking her brother. At some point, they lose complete focus of the issue here. And they're like, your internalized homophobia is gonna ruin your happiness. Bitch! Like, let's completely ignore the borderline incestiness of her, like, really going gung-ho about getting her brother to fuck her husband. The issue, the taboo, is that he's never considered whether or not he would like to have sex with a man. Girl! And if that wasn't bad enough, the rest of the movie is trying to insinuate that in some way, any of these people, any of them, the wife and the husband or the husband and the brother have any chemistry at all. And I just find this movie incredibly insulting. I do. It made me mad. I'm obviously heated. The movie's on Tubi if you would like to suffer yourself. Anyway, without further ado, this is Say Yes, whenever it came out. So this movie begins with our main female character, her name is Lily, getting proposed to out in like a national park, surrounded by her friends and family. Her fiance, soon to be husband, is Beau. And this first scene is pretty much where you can learn what type of acting we're getting in this movie.
Oh my god, you're crazy! Really?
Probably, but that wasn't the question.
Yes.
So if you were hoping that bad acting wouldn't also be something you'd have to consider in this movie, I hate to break it to you, it's bad in every way feasible. But this high is contrasted pretty quickly with a swift flash forward to a few years later after they've been married, in which Lily finds out that she has melanoma. Now, I will say, of all the attempts that this movie does make to be a real movie, I will give it this. A lot of these Tubi movies, even though I don't think this is originally a Tubi movie, doesn't tend to have much nuance when it comes to storytelling timeline-wise. And this movie is told partially in just like a series of flash forward to the present and flashbacks to learn more about how Beau and Lily fell in love in the first place. Yeah, so that makes it kind of a movie, I guess. There, I gave it a compliment. You'd be surprised. These movie makers be finding these videos somehow. I don't know how they do it, but Hi. We then flash to Bo and Lily talking, having some pillow talk after their presumably first time having sex, or the first time she brought him home at least. They talk about things that they didn't know about each other, something that would surprise them. At one point, he didn't want to be a computer guy because that's what he does, but at one point he wanted to be an artist. She then says that one thing that you wouldn't know is that I have a nearly identical twin brother who she's very, very close to, and that she would like Bo to meet at some point. So their relationship was starting to get serious around this time. Like he's meeting family, Back to the present, and Lily is finding more out about her diagnosis. It would seem that she has melanoma, stage 3C, meaning that it is now traveled to her lymph nodes, which means it's not looking very good. So now she's looking forward to a very difficult fight against cancer. So she ends up quitting her job to focus on that. But she won't be alone in that. She, of course, will have her husband, Bo, as well as her distractingly Filipino brother. He comes to visit after she hears the bad news about how far along her cancer has gone already.
Sis! Oh, I'm here.
Another way in which this movie feels like it's gaslighting me. I haven't added this to the list because it really is dependent on your response in the comments, because he says something to her in a foreign language. Now, when I was watching this on Tubi, they did not translate it. They did not put it in the captions. They literally spelled it out. Golaku mili nafati. So I copy and paste that, put it on Google, nothing found. Copy and paste it, put it in Google Translate, just to see what kind of language is it kind of associated with. The one that came up detected was Telugu, a language native to parts of India. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be Telugu, but it's the closest thing that Google got, okay? So regardless, the translations for these were, Miley is nifty for goals. Somehow he always has perfect words for a time like this. I'm not 100% sure this is a language. Because if it is a language, I'm incredibly sorry. I am ignorant, but I tried to know what language it was so I wouldn't put this in the video and make a fool of myself. Because I'll bring up other things that are said in this, again, unidentified foreign language that are, again, not translated. They simply just put whatever the words are on the screen if you put the captions on. It's never translated or contextualized. He just says random syllables and people make faces as if they understand what he's saying, and then they just move along. And if it's not a real language, what did you add it for? Why did you do this? And if it's supposed to be important to the movie enough that you put it in the scripts for them to say it, you didn't think you should tell us what was said? But if it is Telugu, is there people that speak Telugu in the Philippines? Is there a sizable amount of people in the Philippines that speak Telugu? Again, this may be my ignorance showing, but if not, I'm getting more mad the more I think about it. Because you just had this vaguely ethnic dude just say any word. Was it supposed to be Tagalog? Or another Filipino dialect that I don't know? And again, they just move along as if you don't need to know what they're saying. Then what the did you put it in the script for? Anyway, Lily feels like there is a bit of tension between Caden, her brother, and Bo since she's gotten her diagnosis, because they're kind of vying for time with her because who knows how much time they'll have. And she's like, I don't want, the two men that I love the most in this world to be fighting and jealous and yada yada. So I'm gonna need both of you for getting through this, So Caden ends up spending a lot of time at the house because Bo has to work. He offered to take time off of work to help her, but she's like, the last thing we need in the midst of this cancer diagnosis is you losing your job. So nope. Caden has time. He's a freelancer. He'd be more than happy to do some things while you're at work. So one day before her doctor's appointment, in comes Caden with an electric razor offering to cut off his hair and Bo's hair. He offers Bo's hair in solidarity for when she starts to lose her hair, which, hey, you could have asked. You can't just offer someone else's hair up. And Bo says something along those lines as well, but he's like, I mean, I'd be down, but I wish would have been nice for you to ask me. But regardless, Lily's like, no thank you. I don't want to see a reminder that I'm dying every time I see you guys. I'd appreciate if you didn't. Which, this is gonna sound really up if you haven't seen the movie, but I swear to God, this isn't coming out of nowhere. I have never heard a bitch complain about dying more than
I don't need to be reminded of the fact that I'm dying. I'm dying.
I'm dying.
every other line is her like, I'm dying. Don't get me wrong, of course having cancer means like she has plenty to be upset about, but there's something about how they've written this story and this character in particular with no substance outside of being quirky, manic pixie dream girl whose entire purpose is to lead these two people with no chemistry and no interest in each other into this weird, almost incest cuckold thing that she goes to. There's nothing likable about her. The only attributes she has is she's weird and she's dying. And at some point I'm like, oh my God, please do. Because this bitch is annoying and very, very weird and coercive. And the movie again tries to gaslight you with music in the background to not really consider how awful this woman is. At the doctor's office, Caden apologizes to Bo about the whole like offering to shave your head thing. But I did it because I knew you'd do it because you're just as devoted to her as I am or something like that. Flashback to Lily introducing Bo to Caden for the first time. They had a double date with his girlfriend. And apparently at first, Caden wasn't really a fan of Bo. He referred to him as a Ken doll, which I don't know if he's ever seen a Ken doll, because that is certainly not the vibe I get from Bo. I get Geek Squad attendant at Best Buy, but okay. But basically he's like, he's too prim and proper for you, but if you like him, whatever. Back to the present. Lily overhears Caden and Bo watching a soccer game together and bonding, and she's like, oh, that's really nice. The next day, Lily's parents come to in some way help. They're obviously a bit comically prim and proper. The mom comes in knitting nervously or whatever. They come in and they're like, oh, you have a doctor? Is he Jewish? And she's like, what? We just get Jewish people to do certain things. If you want a good basketball player, you get a black man. And if you want to get what the prim, proper, and racist. Yeah. And they just never come back to this. This is just one of those things. They're just like, yep. That just happened in the movie. But Lily assures her parents that she's gonna kick cancer's ass so they don't have to worry about it. She has Caden and Bo help her along the way. Back to that language that may or may not be a real language. Caden says more syllables.
Omakacha.
Yes.
Omakacha, which Google Translate now thinks is Swahili. I really don't think is he speaking a real language? I hesitate to say it, but part of me really doesn't think he's saying real words. Again, I'm saying this tentatively, but I think he's just saying an ethnic sounding language. And that is so fucking terrible. It's like racist, but I don't know who it's racist to. Who the subject of said racism, I guess the Filipino guy, yeah? Like, he looks ethnic. Let's just say some syllables. Let him say goobagoo and just sit on there like, what? But even if it is a real language, again, no one has explained what words are being said.
Starve yourself to death.
It's gross going in, it's even grosser coming back up. What's the point?
Garanta ni tabato.
Oh, now he speaks it.
Well said.
What did he say? I took this one, the one at this eating scene. Apparently now Google thinks it's Ilocano, and I've never heard that word a day in my life. Apparently it's a language native to the Philippines. So, what the fuck? And Google Translate translates to Garanta, whatever that is tobacco. I am losing my mind. Caden finds himself getting kicked out of his apartment because he wasn't able to pay rent. But it would seem only reasonable that he would now move in with Lily and Bo because he spends all his time there helping her with her cancer treatments. Anyway, it would just make things easier. He might as well move in. Thus begins my main grievance with this movie, which is this incredibly convoluted sequence of events in which apparently and unconvincingly Bo and Caden start to have feelings for each other. Let's see how they start this bullshit off. Okay, so he starts living at the house, right? The first of very many weird sequence of events is that Caden comes to check on Lily one time when she was struggling in the middle of the night and ends up sleeping in the same bed as her and Bo. And in the morning, Bo and Caden wake up spooning each other with hard wood. This is some Wattpad bullshit. Bo wakes up disturbed by it, and Caden is like, no, it's okay, man. It's been a while since I've been held.
No, it's cool. It felt nice to be held.
What? The cancer is progressing pretty quickly, though, and the doctor is suggesting that Lily's perhaps should start with a more aggressive treatment plan at this point, one that will probably undoubtedly have more severe side effects. And while Lily and Bo are considering this treatment, Bo takes to growing their own organic plants and juicing them as kind of like a last-ditch effort to help Lily with maybe some help of organic foods and stuff like that. Something that he gets Caden to help him with planting wise. While they plant, they do whatever the this is. Bo puts a worm down Caden's shirt, which makes him have to take said shirt off entirely, I guess. They talk about how at one point they were jealous of each other because they wanted all of Lily's attention. But then they're like, we've gotten over it, so I'm happy we're here. And then they slap each other on the back, wrestles. Okay. And the side of which Lily's weird ass is really excited to see. So she talks to Bo, says, hey, I think you have a little man crush on my brother Caden. Yeah, I mean, like, as a friend and stuff, yeah, it's nice to have a friend. I haven't had a best friend since high school. Sorry to hear that. Because for all intents and purposes, Lily has been his only friend since they met at the diner that she worked at all those years ago. She was there being the quirky, not like the other girls, waiting tables barefoot. Ooh, you know her feet leaving smoke when she leaves. I didn't touch on this either. I think the director of this movie has a foot fetish, but I think of all the things that are going on in this movie, like, that's the least important one. Her being shoeless is meant to be another example of how quirky and unconventional she is.
I feel like shoes are prisons for your feet.
Because while barefoot in this public establishment, she goes up to him, hits on him, asks him out. She's also wearing this shirt, which makes him believe that she's gay. She's like, no, it was a phase in college that my ex-girlfriend gave me this shirt. But anyway, you want to go out? You see what I mean? She's a fucking worse. But yeah, she goes up to him asking him out because he's the only person that goes into the diner who actually reads books. In the present, Lily asks Caden why he hasn't gotten any in a while. He's been busy because I have cancer and I'm dying. But he's willing to do so because he wants to again savor moments with his sister. He takes pictures of her, wanting to remember her as vibrant and lively. He also takes this time to take photos of Bo. And again, it's something else used to create this undeserved, that's the word I'm looking for, undeserved bout of sexual tension.
Lily always used to say you were beautiful, but looking at your face through the lens, kind of see what she means. The bones under the skin. You are beautiful.
That's not hot. This sound like a serial killer. Speaking of sex, cancer treatments are killing Lily's sex drive. Don't quote me on this, but aren't you supposed to avoid sex if you're undergoing cancer treatment? I'm not 100% sure of that, but it's not the only thing that this movie would have done poorly. So, but she feels bad about it because she's like, you're young, Bo, and I feel like my cancer treatments are holding you back or whatever. And he's like, what are you talking about? She's like, I release you from monogamy. You can have meaningless sex with someone else. Actually, it would kind of make me feel better. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna sleep with anyone else. Then she turns to this man and she says, you know what would make me really happy? If you and Caden got together. Watching this whole movie still does not prepare you for the first time it like comes out of her mouth, right? Because again, up until this point, there's no indication that Bo is at all interested. Even the weird instances in which Caden kind of insinuates that he'd be down with it, Bo responds with, what the f is going on? So again, the premise itself is incredibly weird, but witnessing us get here, they planted vegetables, watched soccer, and wrestled like kids that watch too much WWE. And she's like, I see that you two are in love. That's what she says. She says, I see love and attraction, and I think you guys should get together. And his response isn't startled enough for me. He's kind of like, did Kaden say anything about this? Which I would have been like, bitch, what are you talking about? She's like, no, he doesn't have to say anything. I can just see it between you two, which, what? But Bo is like, I love you. You're a nut. This next scene I've considered not even mentioning because it actually makes me incredibly uncomfortable. I'm gonna mention it because this was this movie's attempt at humor. There's a scene in which Caden gets hired to do photography at a quinceañera, and his sister makes a statutory joke about how, like, well, you haven't dated anybody in a while. And it's like, huh? Well, you've been known to make questionable decisions. Remember when you were a kid and you put your dick in a watermelon? Again, I didn't even want to bring this scene up because it makes me uncomfortable, but in fairness, the whole movie makes me uncomfortable, so fine. Anyway, back to the core premise, though, of getting her husband to start f***ing her brother. She brings it up to him again. Like, well, not f*** him, like, build a life together. Nothing would make me more happy than if the two men I loved each other. Like, throw aside all the taboo and the labels. I don't know. Sometimes labels are good. Sometimes labels help. I don't know. They let you know that what you're drinking is Mountain Dew Baja Blast and not antifreeze. But he's like, yeah, girl, you weird. But at some point, Lily decides, after undergoing really tough radiation, that she would like to no longer continue cancer treatments. She wants to just spend the rest of her time with friends and family and not spend it doing really aggressive chemo and radiation and stuff like that. She just wants to do palliative care and enjoy the time that she has left. Also during this time, she speaks about having, certain arrangements for when she dies. She says she doesn't care what they do with her body. She was an atheist. She doesn't believe in an afterlife. So she's like, I couldn't care less. But one thing I do want is for you to find love and happiness. So promise me that you'll be with someone. Hopefully Caden.
Lily, I am not lusting after your brother.
It's not an accusation. It's my aspiration.
Again, she's using like the I'm about to die card. Will you f my brother? It's so f***ed up.
The thought of the men that I love finding love with each other, that makes me smile. Does that make me the biggest hag the world has ever seen?
Like, it's what I want. It's what I want for the both of you. I'm like, ooh, this bitch sucks. She's even final boss yaoi fan who loves a toxic MLM situation more than she loves the air she breathes. And honestly, I want the bitch to die. She can go now. I'm really upset.
I'm not gonna deny, I feel a depth of love for Caden I never imagined feeling for a man.
And this is when the movie really, I hesitate to say loses focus, because I don't think it lost focus. I think it's just ignoring this fantastically large elephant in the room, because they stopped talking about how weird it is that his wife is trying to coerce him into a sexual relationship with her brother using her imminent death as leverage. They start to progressively ignore that and start to talk about Beau's struggles with accepting that he might be into men, which is a whole other issue that has nothing to do. Like, literally go f any man other than her brother. But this movie starts to ignore that, and they're just like, he has a lot of internalized hatred he needs to fix. And then things just start to get progressively more weird, which is impressive in a way. She sends her brother into the bathtub while he's taking a bath, i.e. naked. He comes in also naked, dick swinging, to give him a back massage because Lily told Caden that he was struggling with some back pain. Mind you, again, Beau has at no point, well, I guess that weird flippant, like, I've never felt for another man like I feel for Beau, but honestly, I feel like they've been trying to coerce this out of him the entire movie, and I don't appreciate it. Again, there's nothing on here that insinuates that he wants to reciprocate anything from Caden, and Caden's just dropped these very awkward and weird all of a sudden like, wow, you're so beautiful things, and I was like, huh? At least what we've seen, there's been no indication that Bo is at all interested in being with Caden sexually. Literally all they've done is been in the same room at the same time. But now Bo is considering more his sexuality and is warming up to the concept of watching more gay corn. YouTube. Here comes Lily and she's like, oh, it's kind of hot, yeah? Do you think you could basically f my brother? Like, she's like, it's pretty direct. She says like, oh, do you think you could see yourself doing this with Caden? And then all of a sudden, Bo is like, well, it doesn't seem entirely impossible. What? And then these motherfuckers has gaslit Bo to the extent that he goes up to Caden after he essentially assaulted him. Came into the bathroom while he was taking a bath, unsolicited, unwarranted. Bo goes up to him and says, I apologize for running away. But this is just used as a weird lead-in for Caden to be like, oh, well, this is kind of an awkward thing for me too, because I've never been in a relationship with a guy. I've only like had sex.
So you're bi?
Bisexual, pansexual, sexually fluid. Well, just labels. Right now, I guess I'd have to describe myself as bisexual.
Ugh. Was this movie written by an adult? Like, I'm dead ass. Because this sounds sixth gradian. But anyway, Bo is more bent out of shape over the logistics of homosexual sex. But one of the things that makes it like the most difficult for him to like even consider things is because, again, he has all this internalized homophobia, particularly from his dad, who told him to man up and don't focus on this nonsense, and this nonsense presumably being his attraction to men. And then he starts to cry about missing Lily already, even though she's not gone. Then they kiss. Is that Lily in the background? Oh God. But he's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. But luckily, luckily, she dies the next day. Again, the bitch was a horrible person. But I will say this is kind of fucked up because her body ain't even cold in the ground. She ain't been dead a whole 24 hours before Caden tries to kiss Bo. Well, kisses him. He does kiss Bo and they like make out. And I'm like, hello, she just died. If you pressed on her stomach, she could probably still blow out a candle.
What's wrong?
Lily just died.
I guess grief gives way to passion and they do end up f***ing that night. And both of them admitting that their thoughts at no point during were free of Lily, which is... Caden doesn't really seem to be mourning his sister all that much. He's just more focused on why Bo is running away. Most important person in my life, but I guess now he's like projecting that onto Bo because she's dead, perhaps. Y'all all need therapy. Anyway, next day, Lily and Caden's parents come back again and they talk about like how Lily didn't want to have a funeral, and her parents are, you know, pretty upset about it because they wanted a more formal method of saying goodbye. But he's like, no, these are her dying wishes, so I'm going to go forth with that. At some point, Caden goes to hold his hand and his parents clock that. Bo gets rightfully upset. I would as well. And they go into the kitchen and Caden comes up behind him trying to hug on him. And he's like, what the f is your problem? Caden's like, we have to talk about our love, Bo. Are you just gonna ignore it? And he's like, my wife is barely dead. Caden's like, oh, you're just in the closet. Oh, you're just afraid to be who you are.
Back when the Orlando massacre happened, you were right there posting love is love on Facebook and Twitter. Was that just bullshit?
My wife just died. Her parents are in the living room. And the last thing I need to do is flaunt in front of their face that I'm f***ing her brother. Of which the mom overhears. Caden comes up to her like, hey, we need to talk about what... I ain't hear nothing. I didn't hear nothing. I didn't see nothing. I don't ever want to acknowledge this again. But they do end up acknowledging it briefly when the parents ride away. She just says to Caden, I want you to be happy. And wow, I somehow got two very unconventional, not like the other people, kids, and what am I gonna do with you guys? But Bo, holding on to the last remnants of his sanity, kind of cold to Caden now. And Caden's like, do you want me to move out? Or, you know, because Lily's not here, I guess there's no reason for me to be here. And Bo's kind of like, you can do whatever you want. And Caden's like, well, since you can't get over the death of your wife and my sister in less than 48 hours, you know, you, I'm leaving this incredibly close-minded household. So he moves in with his ex-girlfriend living on her couch. And apparently she can even see how in love he is with somebody else. She does mention the thing that I find really funny. Again, he seemed to have just stopped giving a fuck about his sister dying.
You've got a whole nother vibe going on top of the mourning the death of my sister thing.
But she's like encouraging him to pursue that because, you know, you seem to really care about this person in a way that I never got that type of reaction from you, so you should go for it. And Bo is in a depression spiral, doing nothing but eating TV dinners and wallowing in grief and loneliness. But instead of just chalking that up to the very reasonable conclusion, you just lost your wife to cancer, he associates it with, man, I really miss Caden and I want to be with him now. But it's possibly because they were gaslighting him the whole last few months of her life to say like, hey, you should be with him. And I guess he's the closest thing to being with her again. So I'm not even blaming him. His reaction makes more sense to me when you've been abused. Yeah, I see how you got here. So Caden comes to pick up the last of his things. And that's when Bo admits that he misses him. And then Caden moves back in. They sleep in the same bed, the same one that Lily died in. And the movie ends sprinkling her ashes at the place that Bo proposed to her. And Bo finally says that he is ready to be in a relationship with Caden, even though he doesn't know how to be gay.
I don't know the first thing about being gay. I mean, do we have to stop watching sports, start going to musical theater?
He is saying yes to happiness. I'm at a loss for words, and I don't think there will ever be enough time on a memory card for me to just truly express all the ways that this movie has insulted me and has insulted every person who participated as audience to it. Y'all gaslighted a grieving widower into a semi-incestuous relationship with his dead wife's brother and somehow leave the movie saying, wow, what a happy ending. Happy everything worked out. The whole movie, it was trying to convince me that I wasn't watching the movie I'm actively watching. And it's trying to use situations and music to tell me how I should feel about the events taking place before me. As if, again, I can't gauge reality based off of what I'm watching. So no. Fuck you, movie. You so hard. I'm glad the bitch dead. She was very annoying and abusive. No, I'm not happy about Caden's weird ass and Bo being together. This is the beginning of a Stockholm Syndrome situation. The did I watch? Again, if you want to make yourself mad, I like to do it sometimes. No judgment. It's on Tubi. Anyway, that's all for today. Like the video, like it. Follow me on places, social media. If you look up KennieJD, I'm probably there. I can't even like bubble myself up on the way out of this. If you have other movies you want to suggest to me, do it on places you see I am. Goodbye. What the